Hey guys, I finally got some free time. I got some parts. The stars have aligned. We're back out in the garage. Today we're going to work on our clutch pedal and brake pedal assemblies. We're going to get that installed. I'm going to bring you down off the camera in just a second and show you what we got. So why don't you stick around. Hey guys, before we start into the video, I wanted to let you guys know, we've been collecting pictures of our viewers' cars via our Facebook group, or guys send me emails and show me their cars. So at the end of this video, I'm going to have a little slideshow of everybody's car that sent me something today. And we're going to add to it every time we put a video out. I think it's kind of cool. You know, you'll be able to see your own car in here. So if you haven't already, go to the About section on the channel's homepage and you'll find my email and a link to the Facebook. Any way you can, get me a picture of your car if you want it on the videos, the future videos, and we'll get it on there. But I'm going to put together a nice little slideshow and just start adding every week at the end of the video. I think it's a cool idea. Everybody's got some really nice cars out there, so make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video. Alright guys, let me bring you down and show you what's going on. Alright, when I got this car, it was nothing more than a shell. And the pedal kit was in the trunk. So I have it here. I took it and I cleaned it all up. I got some new hardware nuts because there was nothing with it, and painted it up. What I did was I removed the spring return for the clutch pedal. Okay, it went right here. Figured I'd just show you guys real quick. It gets bolted on right here, these two bolts right there, and it just was a spring that was hooked from that bracket to the back side of the unit. So it would just, you know, every time you push it in, the spring would bring it back. That's all it was. We're not going to use that anymore, okay? So we took that off. Just figured I'd bring it in and show you that real quick. This is for the brake plunger for the master cylinder. We never had one of those. I have one. It's in the basement. We'll go through that in a different job, you know, because it's right in line with this. But I can only do one thing I'm only going to do one thing at a time, okay? So we don't need that one anymore because our new brake system has one. I'm going to hold on to this switch. It goes right up in here, bolts on, and that's just for your brake light. We'll figure out. I don't know if I think my American Auto Wire has a new one. We'll see. If not, we got the old one to try to make sure and see if it works. So that's that. All right, so we bought this Mcleod system for our hydraulic throwout bearing our throwout bearing in the transmission. All right, I'm going to stick a link to that up in the upper right hand corner to the old video. It's going back, I don't know, a little less than a year ago when we put the clutch in and the throwout bearing in the transmission. So I'll stick that up in the corner. All right, we came with some instructions. The good news is, like 1 through 4 or so is already done. We don't have a Z-bar anymore. We got rid of all the components that made it a mechanical clutch because we're going with the hydraulic. So we can jump ahead to the assembly part of the job. And one of the first things I want to do is I want to bolt this up under there. I'm not even sure exactly how it bolts in. I know these 4 bolts, you know, it's pretty standard. It's for the master cylinder. And I think these go right up under by the column and bolt in there. Well, so I'm going to bolt this in real quick and see what we got, because then we're going to put this adapter plate on it, and it's like contoured and bent, you can see, for the firewall. I think we're going to have to cut an Oblong hole out for our 3/4 inch master cylinder, okay, and that's going to control the clutch, the fluid to the clutch. So we'll get to all that in just a minute. All right, so let me get you set up and we'll be right back. Okay guys, I got the foot pedals, I laid them up in there the way I think they go. I didn't take them apart, but I'm pretty sure it's self-explanatory. I got them sitting in here. All right, I believe they go above this in the dash, and then they get bolted to these 2 bolts here. They don't quite line up right now, but that's because I tightened down on that bracket for the 3/4 master cylinder for the clutch. And I mean, it fits, but it's like not a perfect bend, you know, it's an aftermarket part. They said they wanted it to the left of the steering column, so where the steering column would be. So that's what I did. But it kind of sat catawampus because of this factory punch mark on the firewall. But when I tightened it down, it sucked it up. But when it did that, it kind of, you know, it turned the foot pedal assembly a little bit. So we'll have to put those bolts in before we tighten these back up next time. It said I'm probably going to have to trim a little bit of the firewall right there. It looks like we're going to have to. So that's where I'm at. But there's a couple things I want to do before I do any cutting or anything like that. I want to loosen those nuts back up and put 2 bolts into them slots at that dashboard. All right, right there. And I want to go look at a couple of things that are in the basement. I bought one of those Flamin' River swivels for the steering column, and I want to maybe put that on. I want to try to make sure everything's going to work together before I get too crazy here. So I'm going to do that. But before I do any of that, I'm going to take the car off of these roller skates or whatever you want to call them, because they don't roll for crap. And to open the hood to do this job, it sits outside, and I got the door open, and I'm pretty cold. So I'm gonna move the car and put it back. I'm gonna jack the car up, take them out, and then push the car back a little bit. So hang on and let me get that done, and then I want to go in and look at some parts before I go any further. We want to make sure everything works together, you know. Give me a second. Okay, things are a little cramped, but we're in. It'll get a little easier to get through when I put the front down, but we'll be able to work now. I'm gonna go with that for the time being. I need to get inside and check out some parts, but we'll be able to warm up the garage now and come back out here and continue on this video. I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, guys, well, it's a couple hours later. I come in the house and I heard a water noise. Sure enough, that pipe right there had a little pinhole in it. And all my stuff's down at that house, but I had just enough here to make it work. But this is my basement, and it's really car part storage right now. There's our wiring harness. This is our master cylinder kit. I come down to get this Flamin' River thing. There's our, I did it, steering column right there. I come down to get this to see if this is going to work with us. I don't have the rubber boot, you know, the old rubber boot. And then I was looking around and realized, you know what? I don't have the clamp that goes under the dash right here either. So I got to order all that stuff. I'm going to go up and order it here in a little bit. But we're going to head back out to the garage here in a second and see what we can do. Maybe we can temporarily do something. We'll see. There's the garnish molding that our buddy Chevy Ranch sent us. We got both of the glasses sitting over here on the table with the rubber on them, hoping that you know, they'll form to the contour of the glass at some point. So yeah, this is my basement. We used to have a lot of fun down here, a lot of fantasy football drafts, a lot of parties, but that TV hasn't been turned on in probably 2 years. It's pretty big though. Maybe I'll move that out to the garage at some point. We'll see. Oh, check this out, guys, while we're down here real quick. Isn't this cool, man? Our new steering wheel, you know, just the old basic 3-hole chrome with the black. I always like that. Come on, man, it's the way to go, at least in my view. All right, so let me get us back out to the garage, and we'll check out this Flamin' River swivel and see if it's going to work or not. It may not work with that setup. We'll find out. All right, guys, I brought it back out to the garage. I don't know if anybody's interested or not, or if you can even see it, You can see that little notch in that pipe right there. That's where the pinhole was. I had to stop and fix. Kind of ruined my evening working on the car. But we came back out here anyway. I brought the steering column out. I don't have the bracket that bolted up in there, but I wanted to see how it fit inside that Flaming River swivel for the firewall mount. So I went ahead and brought it out for a minute anyway. So I bolted that on. All right, that's pretty cool. It's on there. That's from Flaming River. This is an I Did It steering column. See the badge on it right there. All right, I'm not sure if I have it sitting exactly the depth. I think it comes back just a little bit more. I'll have to ask somebody that has one of these. Like I said, I didn't take this apart. I'm just finding parts and putting it back together. And most of this stuff's aftermarket, so I'm making it work. All right. So you see, I think it's sticking through a little more than it's supposed to. I think it has to go back till this is almost. I think this is supposed to be flush with the end of that swivel. I'm fairly sure of that. But I'll check with a couple of my buddies and find out. But we got it bolted on there. It's cool. I put this bracket back on that holds our 3/4 master cylinder for the clutch. And we're going to have to notch it right where we had it marked. And it's going to bring a little bit of that aluminum plate off with it too, but it's not going to bother anything. So I wanted to make sure of that because I'm using all aftermarket stuff, and it's all going to work together, you know. It's really cool. So we're going to go with it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pack this I Did It steering column back up. And I'm going to take that back in the house. Then I'm going to cut that notch out and bolt that master cylinder on, and we're going to see where we're at. All right, guys. Well, I cut the oblong hole out. We'll see if it fits or not. We're going to do this together. Let me show you what I did. I broke out the plasma cutter and cut it. It was half aluminum, half steel, but there it is. Cut it's like an oblong hole. And then what they want you to do on this kit is bolt the master cylinder onto the bracket, which I did. If I had one complaint so far about this, I'm not overly thrilled with the master cylinder. It's plastic. I mean, I paid good money for this. It's Mcleod, but well, we'll give it a try. We'll see how it works out. All right, so we can bring this over and I'll bolt it on and bring you guys back in, and at the point we'll see where we're at. All right, guys. Well, I had to trim more of the firewall and that swivel piece out. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Bring you over real quick. I had to I'll show you. I had to take that hole way up, and the reason why is when I put this bracket on, I drew it out with a marker, but the bottom of this still sticks away like 1/4 of an inch, and this master cylinder is on such a steep angle that it grows massively as it goes. So the first time, the top holes wouldn't even make it to the bottom studs. So I had to learning curve there, guys. So, but it fits now. All right, so that goes on there like so. Bring you in and show you the inside. I'll just get a piece of rubber and tech screw it on there where it's around. I'll make a real nice boot to go around that right there. See how it's opened up at the bottom there? But I'll put a nice little rubber boot around there. Nobody will ever know. And then we'll clean it up real nice. All right, but that's where that is. My next thing to do is to bolt that on and then bolt this bracket on. Now they say in the directions they don't want no preload on this cylinder, so I'm gonna have to ask somebody about that, because it's look how far past it sticks already, and this is already screwed all the way in. So I'm not sure. There's no fluid to it yet either, and the rod's sticking out, so maybe the rod can go in a little bit. We'll see what's going on with that. But they don't want no preload at all on that cylinder. So let me get this set up, and I'll bring you guys back in just a minute. Okay, guys. Well, this job came to a screeching halt. The clutch pedal comes with factory holes that have 3/8/24 threads for the old bracket. Well, for the new bracketry that they sent, they gave me 3/8/16 with the backup nut. See, these are originally what held the bracket on, and we need these low head bolts according to the directions. But nowhere in those directions did they say I had to drill those holes out. So we're gonna have to drill those holes out. You can see right there, I tried to light it up. Those two holes right there is what your bracket bolts to. It catches that rod. And like I say, they're 3/8/24, and so I'm just gonna run a 3/8 drill through them. Because in the directions it only says tighten to 35 foot-pounds, but well, we can't do that right now because there ain't no way we're gonna get a 3/8/16 through there, and my batteries are all dead, and so we're just gonna pick it up tomorrow. I mean, this is a fairly simple job, and it's just like a couple things didn't go right, and rather than get upset, we're just gonna move on and do it tomorrow. Now that I got a light in here, you can see what I was talking about in the last clip, guys. Down here, you know, I put the bracket on and drew it with a marker, but the piece, you know, bends out and away, so it grows as it goes, and I didn't realize how steep that master cylinder angle was on. But that's no big deal, man. We'll make a real nice little rubber boot to go the whole way around that thing, and it's gonna, you know, seal it up real nice. But overall, you know, for the aftermarket swivel and the aftermarket pieces, it's coming out pretty good, man. We're just going to take it one step at a time. So, and I'm not going to rush it. I want it to be nice and look good. I ran down to the basement real quick and I grabbed these brackets that hold the master cylinder booster on there. So I put them on so we're ready for the booster job whenever that comes up. Hopefully I got it set up right. The one thing I don't like is how these wires are real close to it, so I'm gonna have to get something to lay in between there so that these, what do they call the fire wires, the fire hoses don't get chafed. So we'll put something there. You know, we'll get that fixed up, we'll get that straightened out, no big deal. But, you know, one thing at a time, one job at a time. We'll pick it up tomorrow. Take another day to myself tomorrow, I think, and we'll get that wrapped up, and we'll try to get this video finished out for you guys. And then we'll work on the steering and the brakes next. All right, so I'll catch you guys. All right, guys, well, it's the next day. I stopped at the hardware store on the way home from work, and rather than drill those holes out, I decided to get the correct thread bolt, the 24 thread versus the 16. So you can see they're the exact same length. They're the right bolts. They're the buttons. But what I'm finding is that the bolt won't clear the bracket, the pedal assembly. The bottom bolt went right in, but the top bolt, it hits the assembly. So I don't know whether I want to just try to bend it in place a little bit or pull the whole set pedal assembly out. I'm gonna go look at it for a second, and then I'll bring you guys right back in. Matter of fact, let me show you real quick. It's no big deal, but it was that little bracket that hooks to the master cylinder. If I get a good light on, I don't know if you guys can really see it. I could bring the light over a little bit. Let's see if you can see that or not. But there's this little pedal, this little plate that's flopping right here. It gets bolted like right about there, but the bolt head is hitting the bottom of the bracket, the foot pedal assembly bracket. So I'm gonna have to figure out what I can do to get some clearance there. I just need a little bit, and it only got to be in one spot. I already loosened up the clutch stop, and I moved the pedal up a little bit, trying to find a range maybe where it would fit, and there isn't one. So let me figure this out for a minute, and I'll bring you guys back in. All right, guys, I took the pedal assembly out, and it's a lot easier for you to see what I'm talking about now. See the angle that bolt's on? The hole is lined up perfectly, and there's no way it's going to go in. So I don't know if these, or you know, it's 1955 technology. Maybe not every jig was the same when they were putting these together, or Mcleod really didn't engineer them that well. So one or the other. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to dimple this frame down a little bit to get that bolt in. You can see on the directions They don't want it on the outside. It goes on the inside, and that's where the master cylinder piece comes in. You can even see it here on the directions. You can see how the rod and the bolts come through to the outside, and they got backup nuts right there and there. Okay, so that's what's going on with that. I've got to dimple this, and there's no other solution I could think of other than grinding a little bit of the metal out, and I'd rather not do that. I think I'd rather just see if I could hammer it down enough to where I can turn the bolt and get it in the hole. So let me try that real quick, and I'll get back with you. All right, guys. Well, a combination of a couple smacks with a hammer and a little tiny grind on the bolt, it clears, and we're going right on in now. So we'll get this bolted back on there and get it back in the car. I had to give it a couple persuasive smacks. I think I might just tighten these two bolts up, put backup nuts on, put a little tiny spray of paint where I marred it up. I could do that later too, it doesn't matter, but maybe a quick little, it's a little too cold. All right, guys, it's one thing to the next with this kit. I gotta be honest with you. I got the foot pedal assembly back in. I'll show you that real quick. Let's see. So we got that back in, and the bracketry's on there. It's right there. Now this rod end right here goes into that hole right by where my thumb is. All right, so that's all well and good. The hardware they gave me for that, at a minimum, I got to take this rubber brake stop out to try to get it to go in there, because it's like right in the line of the path of it. And it's not even all the hardware. I can't guarantee it's the right hardware at this point. They gave me the wrong threads. They called for a flat washer on this job. I had to dig one out of my bin. So they gave me the bolt, they gave me the spacer, the nut, and then this, like I say, the flat washer didn't come with it, so I had to get that. But the bolt's way too long to travel through. That rubber brake stop for the up position on the pedal is in the way. I'm going live in a little bit, so I got to go in and get a shower. I mean, something as simple as this kit, I mean, it shouldn't have this many hiccups in it. So I don't know, maybe it's me, but I don't think so. So anyway, no big deal. Rather than get upset because a few cuss words were beginning to come out, so that's when you stop. And that's what we're doing, we're stopping. So we'll finish this up. I'll come out in the garage sometime tomorrow night after I get done working on that house and finish this up. And hopefully wrap this video up. Take care. All right, guys. Well, it's the next day. It's Saturday. I had a good time talking to everybody last night on live. That was a lot of fun. I went over and worked at that house, and I came home. That bolt went right in. You know, it's one of those where you wait till the next day. Yesterday, I was cussing and getting all carried away. It was nothing. I was just being a drama queen. So I come home. I looked at it with a clean slate today. This is that brake stop, that rubber brake stop. And you see how it's just built. It'll just pop back up into that square hole right there in just a minute. But I had to take that out to get the clearance to get the bolt in. Now I followed the instructions. It called for the bolt, flat washer, rod end, spacer. Then they said lock washer and then regular nut. They gave me a bolt with, you know, the locking washer grabber on it, so I just used that. That's good. It's on a little bit of an angle, but the directions said, you know, just make sure you got the full range, and we do, and it doesn't hit anything, so I guess that's all right. I don't think that plunger knows the difference if that's on an angle or not. But that's assembled exactly the way they said in the instructions, so it should be all right. I'm gonna make myself a nice little rubber boot for where we had to cut out around the firewall to notch it to fit. All right, so that's good enough for now. All I got left to do is pop this back in, and we'll call that job done. Well, wait a minute, not really. We have the fill tank over here that we got to put on, but I wanted to wait to put this on until I got my booster and master cylinder on, and then I'd find a nice strategic location for this. All right, it goes and it hooks right into here. You can see that right there. I got to get with my buddies down there at the garage, maybe Kevin or Mike. Hopefully Kevin, because he's got that brake kit. And I was going to ask him to build me a steel line from here over, then I'll weld a bracket to catch the hose that I already have here. because I don't want to have to separate the transmission. And this is plenty of hose. You know, as long as I got a hose going from the body to the engine, we'll be all right. So we'll come up with something there, because I want to get the booster hooked up and get the brakes all bled down. Then I'll have clutch and brakes. That'll be cool. Then I think I'm gonna start working on getting all this interior stuff ready. I mean, not interior, you know, like the dash and the parts that Seville Ranch gave us. We're gonna get that going, because and then I'm gonna ask that buddy of mine that I met on here, Phil. He did that wiring on his. Maybe he'd come over and help me get this thing wired out. And we're well on our way now, man. We got a killer hot rod here, and we can't wait to get it out there. So this is where we're at for today. I'm gonna put this video up, guys. I haven't had one in a while, and I actually had a lot of fun this week out in their garage. I got to get back after it. Dan up there in Didi Speed Shop gave me a new lease on life. He's like, man, get out there and work on your car. So that's what we're doing. At least 2 days a week, we're gonna get something done on this hot rod. All right, guys, stick around here at the end of the video. I put a nice little slideshow in of the viewers' cars to date. But man, keep sending them in here. Send me pictures via the email, join our Facebook group, however you can get me a picture of your car. And every week we'll add to the slideshow at the end of our video. We'll get everybody's car in the video, all right? Take care, everybody.